So I'm going to make the most delicious French onion style pasta dish. Good morning and welcome to my kitchen. Here we are again. It is 2023. We are on episode 2. It is all about tighten your belt. Now, whether that's from a health point of view or a fiscal point of view, I want to create some recipes that are delicious, full of flavor, full of goodness, but not too expensive. I don't want to be making food that's full of butter and cream and eggs and sugar. It needs to be full of flavor. You know me by now, it's got to taste amazing. So I'm going to make the most delicious French onion style pasta dish. This to me is a midweeker, all right? It is cheap, easy to make. I reckon this dish probably costs about £3.50 and it'll feed 4 people easy. So it starts with onions. Now, French onion, so think that lovely sweet caramelized onions, that lovely rich stock. We're going to turn that into a pasta sauce, okay? And it's going to be amazing, I promise. What do you reckon, Emily? French onion pasta? So we're going to start with our onions, okay? So they're already peeled. We cut them in half and then with a good sharp knife. So this is 20 centimeter cook's knife, so it's got a nice weight to it. And chopping is not about up and down, it is about pushing it forward. So down and forward in that kind of motion. So we slice them as thinly as possible. Now with a good French onion, it needs to be thin. The onions need to have a big surface area, which means that all the evaporation of the water comes out in the steam and leaves a sweet, caramelized, delicious onion. So take your time and slice your onions as thinly as possible.
Can you use red onions in this?
Yeah, you could use red onions. Red onions are sweeter, so you will get a slightly different flavour. And they are slightly more expensive, but, you know, we're talking pence. And I would say if you've got red onions in the fridge, use them. Don't not make it. So nice and thinly sliced. Now for this recipe you need to feed 4, I would say you need at least 8 small onions, maybe 2 or 3. You know, if you've got the big Spanish onions, you want 2 or 3 of those. But if I've got these little English white onions, they're much smaller, they're a bit stronger, but the sweetness once you cook them down will be amazing. Let me just get the pan on, get it ready. So we're actually filming today as well, and we've got somebody here from the BBC who's kind of sat behind the scenes, watching what we get up to and doing a little bit of, well, a bit of an article really, aren't you? Just to see what we're up to. So in case you get a different voice with a different question, that's who it is. So Emily's on show as well now, but not in front of the camera. So, nice and finely chopped.
The knife skills.
Yeah.
Could you use a mandolin?
A mandolin, not a Mandalorian. That's a Star Wars character. A mandolin. Yes, you could use a mandolin, super thin, but please be careful. You could also use a food processor because they often get those slicing attachments on there, and you can just cut your onions in half, feed them through, and off you go. But what I would do is if you put it in a food processor, take the onions out and squeeze the water out, because for some reason when you use a food processor they end up like all the juices come out really, really quickly. So squeeze them out and then put them in your pan. Right, so let's get some olive oil into our pan. It's just heating up. There we go. Right, now I like to get salt in first because salt will draw moisture out. And if all the salt sat on the top of the onions, but the heat's at the bottom, it's not going to extract the liquid from the onions very quickly. So put the salt in first, then put the onions on top of the salt, and then add the rest of your onions. Now I've chopped a load more here, so you want a decent amount. I mean, that seems like a lot, but once it's all cooked down, it won't be as much as you think. So just break up all the onions and spread them out. Really make so you've got that kind of base layer, okay? And then the remaining salt on the top. So we've now got salt drawing out from underneath. We've got salt drawing from above. And then we're going to add some pepper. Always cook with seasoning. Get all those flavours coming out. Now, garlic. You've got to have garlic with your French onions. So just take your knife, place it on top of your clove, and then put your hand, fingers up, and just crack it like that, yeah? Keep your fingers up, and then you've no chance of them getting trapped, all right? Otherwise, you're going to spend hours peeling garlic. And don't even talk to me about lazy garlic in a jar. It is not allowed on this channel. You cannot buy pre-chopped garlic. It is just wrong. It's like putting pineapple on a pizza. It's wrong. Shouldn't be allowed, should it, Emily? No. Right, okay. So, remember, now, if you have any questions at all about today's recipe, please post them in the comments below, because that's why we do this show on Facebook, because it allows you to engage with us. If you've got a question, I can answer it. If it's on the telly, you can't. So it's perfect to be able to get all those, you know, you sat there watching me thinking, such and such, ask the question. If you don't ask, you don't know, okay? And if you want the recipe, scan the QR code along the bottom. That will take you to my website, petersidwell.com, or you could download our free recipe app, Peter Sidwell's Kitchen. That has got over 100 episodes on there, and it has got hundreds of recipes. We post everything on there now, so if you want a recipe that either we did last year, you can get it on there, you can dive back into the show, you can watch any episode you like, and it is all there. So make sure you download it. Right, garlic in. Now, herbs that will go with French onion soup. There isn't much growing in the garden this time of year, but there is some beautiful rosemary, all right? So fresh rosemary works really, really well. And with fresh rosemary, thyme, best friends, work beautifully together.
Could you use dried herbs if you have them in the cupboard?
Yeah, you could. I don't like them much. Dried rosemary is not great. And to be honest, rosemary will grow blooming anywhere. Honestly, it's so easy to grow.
What makes it not great though? What do you
I don't know. I think because it's dried, it just loses all its characteristics, and it's just sort of green dust. You know, you've got natural oils in this. I've also got some bay leaf as well. Little tip for you with the bay leaves. So I'm going to put 4 little ones in. Don't just put them in like that. Actually break them. Scrunch them up, because that's when you release all the flavour. Okay? If you just chuck them in like that, they'll do something, but they're not going to really give you that depth of flavour. And this show is about flavour, trying to really give you all the tools, all the recipes, all the ideas, all the techniques to allow you to really cook some amazing food. So, garlic is in. We've got our rosemary and our thyme, and that's going to go in. And then we'll get stirring. You'll notice I've not even stirred this pan yet at all. I've let everything cook. That salt is drawing the moisture out. And now we'll start to turn it. I've almost let it catch, because that's going to help with the caramelisation and colour. You see how it's just catching there, Emily? Yeah. You want it to do that, because when we add the liquid, that catch in that caramelised onion will just dilute all its colour and all that caramelisation into the liquid when we add it. Okay. Right, let's talk pasta. So we're going to go spaghetti on this dish. Okay, I think it works really well. Dried spaghetti, just standard stuff, nothing out of the ordinary, all right? Now, in terms of portion size, you buy it in 500 gram packs normally. Feeding 4 people, 100 grams per person is plenty for an adult. So if you were doing 2 adults, that's 200 grams. 2 kids, maybe 60 grams each, you know, so you're talking 320, 350 for a family of 4, but you know, you might want a little bit of leftovers, who knows. So, take your pasta, first of all, decent amount of salt. I was always taught, cook your pasta in water that is salty as seawater, all right? Take your pasta, give it a twist like that, yeah? And then just drop it in. And you see how it all spreads out? And now the water will get all the way around and the starch from the pasta will not force it to stick together. You need a decent sized pan. If it's not big enough, the pasta sticks together. Whereas if you've got a big pan, it can roll around and all the starch will be released, but into the water, okay?
Is the different shapes introduced to different pasta dishes?
Oh, now you're getting controversial, Emily. The Italians are very precious about what pasta you should use for what dish. And I'll be honest, I'm not quite sure what they'd make of French onion pasta. But anyway. So, but I would say, yeah, you could do what you like. Right, onions are caramelizing down beautifully now. If you use a pan that's big enough, you need to add olive oil into your pasta, okay? If it's got time to roll and bounce around, then it doesn't need it. It just needs salt and water, and that's your lot. Brilliant. So you can see how rich and caramelized the onions are now. All we need to do is add a little bit of stock. So I've just got some vegetable stock. Now, traditionally French onion soup is with beef stock, but it's unnecessary for this recipe really, in my opinion. I've got that rich brown caramelized colour from the onions, and the thing that you need is a bit of time. Just let it cook, let it caramelize, let that salt draw the moisture out, evaporate, and then you're left with sweet caramelized onions, okay? So what we're going to do is take some of our starch water from the pasta. Now this is kind of the secret, all right, to good pasta, is taking this starch that we've released out of the pasta. When you add it to a sauce, it almost makes it naturally a little bit creamy, all right? And when you've had like amazing pasta and you're like, oh, how do they do it? How do they make it like that? It's little things like this that make the difference. That starch in here is going to make it nice and creamy and rich. And we're going to continue to reduce that down. Okay, so what are you thinking on the caramelized onion pasta, French onion pasta, Emily?
I like the sound of it.
Are you?
It smells delicious.
Is this going to be a hit in your house, do you think?
Yeah, I think it will be actually.
Okay, let's have a little wipe down. My viewers quite like to see me clean, which is a bit weird, isn't it? So the onions have cooked down and the liquid that we've put in there has reduced and reduced and reduced and absorbed into the onions. So they're sweet, they're juicy, they are ready for the pasta. So the last couple of bits that we're going to put in. So I'm going to put in about 50 grams of butter. You can put margarine in if you want. If you wanted it vegetarian or plant-based, more to the point, you could put that in, no problem at all. I've just put a little bit in. I didn't want to put too much in. And then I've got some Parmesan that's going in. I'm not going to put it all in at the beginning. I'm going to leave some. And what we're trying to do now is make a sauce. And you'll see how that butter kind of melts in and it's starting to go creamy now. Oh, it smells so good. Look at that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take I've got a mixing bowl here, okay? And I feel like I'm going to have a lot of pasta here. But what I'm going to do is lift some of my pasta out. I'm not putting it in a colander, okay? Because I want the little bits of starch that are from that pasta going in there. I'm going to put the rest of the pasta in here because I've got a little bit of a small pan syndrome. and I'm not going to fit it all in because we've got an extra person who's hungry, I'm sure, who wants to try this. So we'll just put that pasta there for a second because I want you to see this. And we start to now turn the pasta in the onions, okay? Otherwise, what you need to make sure that you don't do is just serve pasta and onions. You need to make the pasta and the onions best friends. They need to hang out together in this pan. And you want the pasta to absorb that flavour, okay, before it does anything. That last little bit of boiling and simmering will just reduce the sauce and any liquid down, and it's soaking into the pasta and it's going to make it absolutely delicious. Now remember, if you have any questions, please do post them in the comments below and I will answer them as best I can. Hopefully we have covered all of them today, but you never know. If you've got a good question, post it, okay? Right, there we go. That is our pasta. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to finish it. And because I'm a chef, I need to wipe the edges because it's annoying me. Okay.
I get told off for doing that at home now.
I have to wipe the edges. You've got to wipe it. Right. Finish with a bit of Parmesan. If you haven't got Parmesan, use a bit of cheddar. It's okay. It doesn't have to be the most amazing artisan Parmesan cheese you can get your hands on. You know, it's still going to be delicious, I promise. Okay, so a little bit of Parmesan on the top there at the end. And then I want to finish with olive oil because it makes it silky and it gives it that nice texture. Okay, at the end. A good olive oil. And then no more salt, but it definitely wants a little bit of black pepper. And that is it. That is how to make a really delicious, really simple pasta dish. Absolutely packed full of flavour. And we get that flavour through technique. Okay, it's about caramelizing those onions and getting the maximum amount of flavour out of your ingredients and then combining it with something as simple as pasta. It's really good. You're gonna like this recipe. Thank you very much for watching, and please do share this recipe with your friends and family. Spread the love, spread the word. We want more audience. 2023 is a big year for Peter Sidwell's Kitchen, and we would love for you to join us all the way through the year on all our recipes. But thank you very much, and I will see you on the next episode.